Hello, welcome to Futbol the Europa podcast episode 3. Today alongside me is Carlos once again. Welcome Carlos, how are you?
Good, thank you for having me again.
Yep, it's a pleasure. So we'll start the podcast by talking about La Liga games which have been very goal scoring, I should say. Total of 35 goals.
35 goals in this round of games, quite a high number. And a lot of last minute winners or last minute equalizers, a lot of last minute goals basically in the league. So yeah, basically I think it shows the tactical side of La Liga teams, where they always look to score, and it's generally openish games where even smaller teams play open games against bigger teams and don't try to sit back on a low block or a mid block. So yeah, overall probably the best week of La Liga. Would have been great if we were in contention for the league. But apart from that, it's a good week for La Liga football as such. As a La Liga fan, great week.
That is true. And how do you see the loss of Real Madrid to Valencia?
We did not play good at all most of the game, and on top of that, Valencia is. I mean, we do better, I feel, in Camp Nou, and probably even at Vicente Calderon than we do at Mestalla and Sevilla's home ground. These are the two bogey teams. So this has been bogey teams for us for quite a long time. I still remember we lost the 2014, the UCL Decima year. We lost the league at Valencia. Basically because of that match where we drew, we lost the league. In the same way, I feel Valencia is always a hard place to go, and we did not play that great. So yeah, it's tough time for Zidane. Just not too much to read into his games right now also. So I feel there is overall a lack of motivation in the team, and lack of confidence in the team.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. And let's talk about the other La Liga sides which have been pretty good, I guess. Like Betis lost to Real Sociedad 2-1, Sevilla won 2-0 against Alaves, Villarreal Barca, that's a game to talk about, 4-4 draw. Athletic versus Levante 3-2, Athletic wins. Huesca versus Celta 3-3 draw. And a lot of last minute goals as well in this round of games. So
a lot of last minute winners and last minute equalizers.
Yep.
Alaves, their dip in form has been extreme. They started the season really well. I think they were in the top 4 for quite a long period of time.
Yep, they were.
And now they're out of the top 4. So you see back into contention the normal teams where Sevilla is back into, I think, the top 4 right now. Sociedad over Betis that's kind of Betis, no? They play really good, and they tend to, whether they win or lose, they just play really good. And you can never predict whether they will win or they will lose. Normally you see their best performance against Barcelona. I don't know why.
Yeah.
and sometimes against even Real Madrid. But
because I guess Barcelona never expect a team to play their own game against them. Because Barcelona like to control the ball, they like to play from the back, they like to build up the triangles and pass the ball around, and the other team just adapts to it. It either sits back or presses or just hopes for a loose ball or counter-attacks and stuff. But not Real Betis. They beat Barcelona at their own game, and it's not a surprise that their possession is sometimes more than Barcelona. And that's pretty much the same case with every team in La Liga. They never really shy from playing their own game and implementing their own style. No wonder if they are playing against Atletico, Barca, Real, or anyone else. So this is something contrary to the EPL sides, which kind of sit back and play on loose balls or rely more on long passes.
EPL teams, I think, are a victim of the success of EPL, I would say. Financially, since they are so successful, there is a lot of financial incentive for them to stay in the EPL. I think for La Liga sides, there's not too much I'm not saying there's no financial incentive, but there's not too much difference for them between coming, say 8th, 9th, or in a lower position. And also, they don't get a chunk of the media cutout. It still goes to Real Madrid, Barcelona as the top two teams. So I think from their point of view, their major income source comes from their fan base, and for them to get major income source from the fan base is basically play good. So the more you play good, the more fans come, irrespective of whether you lose. I mean, fans for smaller clubs are not, are not stupid. They know that it's very difficult for them to compete against bigger clubs, and they don't mind if they lose games against bigger clubs, but as long as they play good or they play the best possible that they can. So I think in that case, La Liga, in a way, it's good that maybe La Liga is not that famous or financially that sound as EPL, so that benefits, I think, smaller clubs in a way.
Yeah, it's interesting because there was a statistic regarding matches watched in USA, and it was like EPL, some lower side EPL teams were more watched than Real Betis and other La Liga games in the same day or in the same week. So it was a phenomenal statistic which shows that La Liga is not really seen in the same light as EPL. I don't know why people don't watch it. I don't know why, but it's worth watching them, because if you are a lover of football and you don't watch La Liga and you are fan of build-up plays and attacking football and play which is known for controlling the game or dominating the game or implementing their own style, then you really need to watch La Liga, because you won't find it anywhere else in Europe, not even in Bayern, or not even in Bundesliga, not even in League One or Serie A. Serie A is more defensive. I don't think so they will ever go for the kill or the attack. They rather play for the 0-0 draw against big teams rather than going for the win. Whereas in La Liga, you'll see the teams being more motivated to play against Real Madrid or Barcelona, because they know if they get the win over there, it's a big thing for them, for their fans, and especially if they are playing away, then they are pretty much giving their everything. We could see that with Celta, Barcelona in past years, like 4-3 scores in previous years, I guess, against Luis Enrique's Celta and Luis Enrique's Barca also, because he coached both of them. And similarly, Girona and other teams like Getafe and even Lejanes against Real Madrid in Copa del Rey and stuff, you can see them playing their hearts out, especially because maybe they have this feeling that this is the farthest they can go, because they won't be playing in Europe, they won't be playing in Champions League or in Europa League. They don't have much of chance in Copa del Rey, and that's pretty much the highest level where they can show their fans that what we are made of.
True. I think in USA, the fact that they speak English helps. Maybe the timing also helps. I'm not sure. But yeah, generally, because EPL has such a huge marketing cloud, and the fact that the language is friendlier for them, it's easier. But I feel there's right now a lot of improvement being done by both La Liga and especially Bundesliga. If you look at their La Liga and Bundesliga's official YouTube channels, they started posting match highlights in two languages, that is Spanish and English, and I think even German does that. I think Bundesliga generally in terms of social media presence, they've done very good. They have tied up with a lot of YouTube footballers, T for Football, 4 Toons, and try to get a lot of traction onto at least their social media sites and social media channels, which helps them eventually promote their football.
That goes for Italian teams also, because if you look at the Twitter handles, especially the English ones of Leverkusen or other clubs like Roma, and there was one another club which I'm forgetting, I don't know why, because that's a great club. So yeah, it attracts the audience also. You won't see Real Madrid and Barcelona doing that ever, because they are too professional for that. They are too big for that, they feel. And the smaller clubs can deal with some banter and stuff, like
Roma, in their official lineup, they removed Malcolm when they played against Barcelona for the ICC. When they tweeted out the official lineups of both teams, they removed Malcolm from the Barcelona starting lineup.
Yep. So it's really like even if they lose to big teams, then also they have some banter and stuff. So, anyways, one thing which I would like to add is that EPL is more hyped. EPL players are more hyped, and EPL teams are more hyped by the English media, and English media is more widely accessible to people. Like Marca, you won't read much Marca apart from Real Madrid fans or the Spanish fans, but everyone will read the Daily Mail. So yeah, that's also a contributing factor to why La Liga is considered inferior to EPL, I guess. Moving on, Manchester United are back to 6th position, and it seems like Ole's honeymoon is over.
His honeymoon period was bound to get over at some point of time. But I think they still are contention. They're still in contention for the top 4. It'll be interesting to see if they finish in the top 4. It's still, from my perspective, it doesn't make too much difference in terms of appointing him, because there was really no major option that they could get at that point of time, and Ole had done too good to discard him, and they had reached a stage where they need to look into the summer market. And considering their current problems that they have in their club in terms of players wanting to leave, obviously Pogba made comments, and they guess rumored to want a bigger contract. So basically, with these things in mind, it made sense to sort out at least one thing quickly, which was the managerial part, and look for the future parts. But yeah, I still stand by the fact that Ole, the decision to keep him permanent was logical, because at that point in time there's nothing else to do. And the other part is, unfortunately, with the current squad, I don't think so Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would be able to compete for the title. At best, they are a top 4 competing side, and that is considered. That's if you hope that your competition does not improve. They're lucky like that in the sense that Chelsea is not likely to improve because of their transfer ban, and with possibly Hazard being sold to Real Madrid, they'd actually be a step down. I don't know what Spurs' situation would be. So that's Spurs. You can look at the fact that they are also not likely to improve in the sense that they rarely spend money. So if they lose some players, it'd be really bad for them. So I think Manchester United would try to use this transfer window a little more wisely, get maybe a couple of players and try to compete for the top 4. I don't see them really competing for the title.
Yeah. Now, what I've noticed is that Manchester United fans have finally come to the terms that maybe Mourinho was right, that this squad, this group of players doesn't really have the potential to reach the competitive stage to compete with the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool. And like, if you see, Mourinho also wanted to let go of Pogba and get Perisic and maybe even get Harry Maguire for the centre back position, and I don't know what would he have done in the midfield, but it is pretty clear that eventually Ole would also have to resort to those decisions, and this is not that Mourinho was the problem eventually. So yeah, I read an interesting tweet which said, first you needed Matic for Pogba to get unlocked, then you need Mourinho to leave for Pogba to get unlocked, then you need to play a certain formation to get him unlocked, then you need Ole to come in to unlock Pogba, and now Pogba needs to go to Real Madrid to be unlocked. So it's not really about Pogba in the end, I guess. It's more of the team reformation thing.
Pogba was never 100, he was never 100 million player in terms of quality, like pure quality. He does not have that much impact onto a team, I would say, but he's a great player. If you have good squad players around him, he will improve. Obviously, I don't think so Pogba sale is something on Ole's mind, because it will be very difficult for them to replace Pogba in the current market, especially with Manchester United, and considering that even if Pogba is sold, it will be for a huge amount. So I think they'll keep Pogba. They'll try to do everything to keep De Gea also. I feel that they'll have a huge wage bill. Their hardest job is they'll want to shift Sanchez somehow, but I don't think that's going to happen. And it depends on what they can do with the forward line. I feel if the decision is to keep Rashford as your number 9 altogether, then I don't think so Lukaku should be your backup, because he's Like you could probably sell him for something, and maybe he would also not want to be the second choice striker at this age. At 25, 26, he's there right now. So yeah, those are the decisions that they have to take. They definitely would need a couple of centre backs, maybe wingers also. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about with their transfer scheme.
Yeah, I should also mention that there are rumors of Manchester United being sold to a billionaire from Europa or somewhere. I don't
Saudi
know.
Arabia. There
Saudi
was
Arabia, yeah.
talk about that. I don't think that's true though.
Yeah,
We'll
but
see.
maybe with the financial situation at Manchester United, they may sell. And for the Pogba bit, there are reports that they want a swap from Toni Kroos to Paul Pogba with Real Madrid. So Toni Kroos will leave Real Madrid for Manchester United, and Manchester United will let go of Pogba if that happens. There is interest from Bayern Munich once again for Toni Kroos.
So Toni Kroos for Pogba with no cash exchange. Is that the?
I don't know much about that, but those are the initial rumors that the deal is about. Because it's not possible that Manchester United will leave. Will let Pogba leave for a few million pounds, and it's definitely not for one player. If Manchester United are willing to let open the doors for Pogba, it will be for maybe Varane and Kroos, maybe something like that. Because I don't think so they will just have one player in the exchange for that player.
I don't think so. They'll get Varane and Kroos for Pogba.
Yeah, but they will be
I
wanting.
don't think so. We'll sell Varane. I feel both Pogba and Varane are just trying to improve their contracts. Both of them will eventually get their contracts improved. I don't think so. Real Madrid will buy Pogba because it's not. I don't think so. It's a real priority where they would spend so much cash. The only other club I can think of maybe buying Pogba is Barcelona, but even them, I don't think so. They still need a striker. It depends on the kind of sales that they get, so it won't be that easy.
Yeah, but it will be interesting because many times it has happened that a player was interested in joining Real Madrid and ends up joining Barcelona. Something like Suarez.
Yes, true, but I think in Suarez's situation, he wanted to win titles. I think Pogba would be happy if he gets a good contract. I mean, he went from Juventus to Manchester United for the contract and the money that was involved in this. So if it was a footballing decision to win titles, there's no reason for him to leave Juventus. I think he had the point that he left, they had already reached finals. He was winning 3 titles. That's a place where he develops. So there's no reason for him to leave Juventus. So I think they're both these players, their motivations were different.
That is quite true, and maybe Liverpool weren't paying Suarez as much as Barcelona would. So yep, that's also there. Moving on to Real Madrid's lack of tactic and identity, because we've seen the game against Valencia and I couldn't see Real Madrid make 3 passes in continuity. They couldn't build up, they couldn't advance the ball to the further positions in the field, they couldn't make a presence in final third or create something over there. It was all about crosses and clueless crosses, I should say, because they weren't pinpoint crosses. It was just like throwing the ball into the center of the field and hoping that someone would be there.
Something they did not play through the midfield at all.
Yeah. So, what's your take on that?
It's first of all, I think the squad overall lacks a lot of motivation and confidence. If you look at it overall completely, definitely players like Marcelo, Asensio have significantly regressed compared to the previous seasons. Lucas also is not that great, and our focal point right now is Benzema. He has done fantastic in my point of view. I did not expect him to give the kind of numbers that he did. So he was great and he completely exceeded my expectations, but he's not the you can't win something if you have only him as your main focal point who needs to score you goals. Either you need somebody along with him or somebody who can match his pace. So I think in Benzema's case, if you put him as the alone striker, this is the peak that you can get. Maybe a little more goals than what you're getting right now. But if you put him alongside somebody who's very, very potent, then Benzema cannot match somebody else's tally equally. He'll be more of a supporting cast at that point of time. So definitely, and in terms of generally in Zidane, I felt even during his 3P that he relied a lot on basically man managing and the players' ability to create stuff. He depended a lot on the special moments from players, and right now he's not getting that, simply because the confidence is low and bad, and obviously it's not the best environment, and even in the last game, because we just scored the final stoppage time winner, is basically why in that game also we were not playing well. It just went unnoticed because we eventually won the game. So yeah, I'm not really sure what, like, if just from past experience of what Zidane has done, if he's going to do the same thing, I mean, whoever you get, we are not likely to win unless we get somebody in the CR7 Messi level or a lot of such players, and I don't think so that's going to happen.
Yeah, and to me it is not really a surprise because I saw it coming. It may come as a surprise to a lot many Real Madrid fans that Zidane lost his game, or they may think it as it's okay, it's only his first loss as a manager in the second term and the team is done, the season is over. But it's a lot identical to what was happening under his first reign as well, because if you saw games against Barcelona and other teams in the league, it wasn't really a dominating side except from the Supercopa. And if you see the UCL, they weren't winning convincingly against Bayern Munich. They weren't winning convincingly against other teams such as Juventus or
even
Liverpool
in the final.
Yeah. Even against the Liverpool, though the scoreline may project something else, but it wasn't. If you have seen the game, you would realize that it wasn't the exact replication of the performance on the field. And because this is the thing, I think Zidane always plays Isco because he doesn't have a proper tactics in the final third, in the middle part of the final third. If you can understand what I said, the number 9 and number 10 role, there isn't much activity going on there, and he doesn't really have any identity to get the ball over there or to get the players over there. So he uses the half spaces and the wings over more, expecting players to make runs or the opposition's defenders to get caught offside or of the position
or crosses.
Yeah. So and maybe someone like Cristiano, Bale or Benzema or even Ramos sometimes can make a run and score a goal over there, and that's not really a tactic which can win you the league and the Champions League every time. Though it happened in Champions League, and
I think in Champions League you have to give credit because that was a great squad. That was complemented by Cristiano Ronaldo. Now it's an aging squad. That same squad is aged. Like I would say, Modric cannot give the same performance throughout the season across 90 minutes. And also, obviously, compared to the previous seasons, our second team, I would say, the quality of our second team has slightly come down. Experience of our second team has slightly come down, and definitely a lot of them, some of them like Asensio, Lucas have regressed also.
That is true. And one more thing which I would like to add is that you saw Isco win the diamond position first time against Atletico Madrid in the first leg of Champions League 2016-17 campaign when they won against Juventus in the final. And that was the first gamble of Zidane that, okay, Atletico is a tough team. They are tough on defense. They are pretty much the best team in Europe based on defense. So the crosses won't work. Maybe we need someone to unlock their defense and maybe to get the through ball or to pass through or to just make them unsure of what to do right now or whom to mark. And it worked that time, but because it wasn't a backed up tactic or backed up gamble as it, and so eventually it did turn out to be a failure, and fans did turn out on Isco that he doesn't pass the ball, he slows down the counters and stuff. But I guess the free role of Isco wasn't really the solution. Isco as a player with some tactics would be a phenomenal guy, maybe in a team like Barcelona or even in Manchester City. But in Real Madrid with Zidane as a coach, I don't see him progressing much. Maybe under Lopetegui he would have done so, but Lopetegui wasn't given much time, and then Isco also got injured, and there was a
Isco
lot
was
of
very good under Lopetegui when he played.
Yep.
And after Isco got injured
Yeah.
was when the breakdown happened, and then after that,
Maybe the
all
best
there.
side of Isco was under Lopetegui in Spain national team.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty much the epitome of Isco till now, and that's what that was an
Isco is a
yeah.
system player. I think you need to implement a system
Yeah.
that uses him best, and maybe
Yeah.
Zidane is not the right
I've said
person
it
for
a
that.
couple of times before that he's a player like Messi, not in the terms of goal scoring or assists or something like that. In the basis of role, he has a role like Messi to create space, to get into the dangerous positions, draw in defenders, move along the ball. If he is caught with 2 or 3 defenders, he can dribble past them and
Close
create
control.
something. Yep. So he's that kind of a guy who can get you something when the team looks dull, and something like Vinicius does on the wing nowadays for Real Madrid.
Yeah, the
Isco did
only
something similar in the middle part of the field.
positive for this season was Vinicius and Reguilon, and even in the press conference that Zidane spoke about, he seemed to favor Marcelo over Reguilon even for next season. I think if he does that, it could be a huge mistake because Marcelo had a very bad season, and unless I'm sure he'll come back to shape probably at the start of next season, but still it's a huge risk to start him or to make him a first choice striker, first choice left back. I think at least he should be. He should feel the competition that Reguilon gave him, and Reguilon. I feel if the Reguilon and Marcelo situation right now reminds me a little bit of the Morata Benzema situation. I know Morata has not played good and all that, but if you consider that particular season where he came from the bench and he scored 20 goals, I think at that point of time he deserved to start over Benzema at
That
the
is
beginning
true.
of the season. It was up to Morata to make sure that position is his, and if he doesn't perform well, Zidane always can drop him and put Benzema in. But at the beginning of the season, he should have. And right now, I feel beginning next season, Reguilon should be a first choice left back.
That is true, because I think the players also suffer from winning fatigue, because Marcelo and others have won a lot and there's nothing more to motivate them to win further, I guess. And Reguilon and others are new guys like Odriozola, Reguilon, Vinicius, Ceballos. These are the lads who haven't proven themselves enough, and they have the hunger and thrive to prove that they are worthy of starting games and to start ahead of even the likes of Marcelo and stuff. So also Marcelo is aging, and maybe he should take up the mentor role and take a back seat for Reguilon, because I think that's what he needs to do, something like Roberto Carlos did, and maybe something as Modric will do in the coming season, I guess, because I don't see him starting every game right now.
Modric definitely will not start every game. Just coming back to the press conference, I was thinking of the other parts that Zidane mentioned. Not only he spoke pro Marcelo, he specifically spoke very pro on Varane. I think he specifically said that he can't imagine a Real Madrid without Varane. And he was asked.
He also said that about Cristiano Ronaldo last season.
True.
Last season, yeah.
True, but in that, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo did choose to leave. I found it interesting because he was asked 3 different questions about 3 different players: Marcelo, Varane. Both he spoke positively. Varane, in specific, he spoke very positively on. The third question was regarding Bale, and that is the one question where he basically kind of spoke, like every player has a role to play, and they need to prove themselves, something like that. And then finally, like we'll see at the end of the season. So that's very telling on the way that he spoke about Bale. Clearly, I think Bale is not going to continue next season, at least as the main striker. And similar to the Sanchez problem, we have a Bale problem where it'll be difficult to offload Bale.
Yeah, he also talked about goalkeepers, and he said that next season it will be very clear who stays and who doesn't stay, who will be starting for Real Madrid. It will be a very clear decision. So maybe Navas is going to leave right now, because earlier people thought it was about Courtois leaving, but right now with all these reports and all these comments, it is pretty clear. Like the way he even talked about Navas, that I respect him as a person and a player, he's a professional, but yeah, so it was a subtle hint that he will let go of Navas, and it's interesting that it the fans don't really care about the decision as much as the person who is making the decision. Like when Solari was benching Navas for Courtois, he was abused, he was criticized. When Courtois was bought by Perez, Perez was abused. And even in the January, there were rumors that Navas is leaving in January itself. So the board was abused. And even Lopetegui was a bit more lenient with both the keepers. He used to rotate them. So, but he was also a bit criticized for other reasons. But anyway, but now Zidane comes out and says that okay, next season will be very clear who starts, and now everyone is happy with Courtois all of a sudden. So it really proves that it doesn't matter who, it doesn't really matter what the decision is, because people don't really think over it, and it just depends on who the person is in the decision making seat.
This I've seen this kind of side in the media also. When first Zidane became the coach, when Rafa was the coach, there was huge talk about James. James was usually dropped on the squad because we were playing a 4-3-3 then, and Rafa Benitez has never played without a defensive midfielder, let alone most of the times he plays a 2, I would say actually. So unfortunately, because of the system that he prefers, James was the one who used to always get dropped out. And because of that, there was always talk like Benitez is going to get sacked. Benitez is going to get sacked because James is not getting a starting position. And I think it came to the forefront in that El Clasico loss where he played James, Kroos, and Modric as our midfield three, which is the most unlikely Rafa Benitez midfield. Like he's never played without a defensive midfielder, and most likely he plays a 2. So I think he was just trying to prove a point that you want it this way, this is how it goes, and probably for him that is the best loss in his life, because he just proved that I know what I do, let me do it the way I want. But the moment Zidane came in, and Zidane also stopped playing James, for the simple decision that you cannot have, you're playing a 4-3-3, you need to have a defensive midfielder. Kroos and Modric are currently better than James, so he'll be dropped. It made perfect sense at that point of time. But the moment Zidane came in, all the talk was not that Zidane will be sacked. It was all about that James wants to leave, we will let James leave. So I found that really weird, and that's the same thing that you're talking about right now. And just coming on terms with Courtois, I think Courtois is the obvious choice. I think Courtois is slightly better than Navas, but Courtois is much younger than Navas. He has his peak. I think Courtois' peak is better than what was Navas' peak. If you look at Courtois' peak, say his World Cup level peak, or when he was playing for Atletico Madrid, and even the early years under Jose Mourinho with Chelsea, he was great. Fantastic. So I think he is the most obvious choice, and I wouldn't mind if Navas stays. He would make a very good second choice, because considering all our other keepers are very, very young. But yeah, I think he should start.
Yeah, but it will be interesting if Manchester United let go of De Gea, Pogba, and take Bale, Varane, and Kroos. So Real Madrid are letting go of Navas and Courtois, both of them, and suddenly it's all clear who starts De Gea. Yeah, it's a funny story. And moving on, we have to talk about Raul's debut season as a manager with Real Madrid sides of under 15 and under 18.
Unbeaten, right?
Unbeaten in both, and 24 games and 22 victories in under 15 Cadete B, and in Juvenile B 26 games and 23 victories.
I haven't seen any of his games, so generally I've always felt that when you're an ex-player, generally I feel that a defender or a midfielder is more likely to make a better coach from tactical point of view, because I think those are the positions where you need to see the game from a tactical point of view while playing it, and you need to commandeer. I'm not really sure how strikers will do. So I haven't seen any of his games. I would love to see his games to see what sort of tactical identity he brings. Obviously, the one good thing about Raul, which I would say is, compared to, he's the third highest scorer in UCL, right? After Messi and Ronaldo, pretty much. So if you compare him to, say, players like, for example, Henry or Drogba, RVN, Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo, I don't think so he's as talented as any of them. Like in raw talent, if you speak, I don't think so. But he's very hardworking, and he basically outworked his talent to reach where he is. So I think that aspect of him since that is the aspect that made him a good player, I think that aspect of him will be there as a coach when he trains people. So I think he'll make good. So generally, I'm not sure how he would be tactically, but I think he would be a difficult coach to play against. In the sense, he would make sure his team is well organized, where not that they play defensive football, but he's well organized where he catches routines well, so that people know what position to be in, what they need to do, and he'll encourage the team to work hard beyond their talent.
That is what tactics are all about. You have to set routines, you have to make it repetitive. And I was listening to a podcast of Guillaume Ballack with Bielsa, and they were also talking about repetitive uh, formations and repetitive sequences of play. So it 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 is imbibed in your muscle memory and even in your own mind. So it all happens out all of a sudden right now. Like, you don't have to think about it in the game, and it just happens on its own. And that's pretty much what you have to do, and that's what Pep Guardiola does with his sides. And speaking about the record of Raul, it is better than Zidane's record as Castilla coach, because
Zidane a horrible record as
yeah,
Castilla coach.
it was horrible. And even Solari had a
Had a horrible
horrible
record.
season. Yeah, Solari was the worst coach for Castilla record wise, and it is Raul is more similar to Guti in record, because Guti also did a
I
great job.
would like the idea of seeing Raul and Guti like one being the assistant and one being the main coach. I think they would complement each other really well in terms of their perspective of the game. Just
Yeah.
I'm saying just from the point of view how they were as players.
Yeah. Yeah, Guti was speaking yesterday only, and he talked about his back heel assist, and he said the question was that would your team play a similar kind of football? He said, I hope so, and I will try to implement that selfless kind of personality in my team, and it will be very similar to my style of play, like I used to play as a player, and that will be my team's identity. So he's currently coaching Besiktas as an assistant coach right now, and maybe in near future he comes to Real Madrid.
Yep.
So moving on, it seems that knuckleball is outdated now.
Messi's free kicks.
Messi's free kicks, and
Fourth continuous game, right, where he scored a free kick goal.
yeah, and sixth in the season, which is now at level with Ronaldinho.
And Ronaldinho himself, he did it last year also. Last year also he had 6 goals. Messi from free kicks, so he's tied up with Ronaldinho himself.
Yeah.
Knuckleball, there are not a lot of people who do knuckleball well. Always the curved free kick was more common. But yeah, Messi's free kicks of late have been great, winning the matches, drawing the matches, and doing a lot of other stuff. So it's good for them. Quite lucky in terms of not lucky, I would say. Quite unfortunate of Villarreal, to make silly mistakes like this against a Barca team that generally doesn't lose in the league. I think I was reading a stat where Ernesto Valverde has lost only 5% of his games in La Liga. He has a lot of draws though, but he basically lost very few games. So you have to give him some credit, but definitely to Messi also for doing a lot of things right and carrying the offensive load of the team well, while being backed by good players and good enough coaching for them.
Yeah, the thing is that Valverde is criticized for being too weak as a coach, because he doesn't rotate much and he relies more on plays and stuff. But I don't know, he's getting the results, and his team still has a strong identity. Maybe it's not really the Barca's beautiful style of play identity, but it's a strong team, it's a strong defensive block, and they still manage to win games anyhow. And talking about knuckleball, it's a technique which requires a lot of gamble as well, because you strike the ball as hard as possible and it can turn either inside or outside. So either it's a very beautiful free kick or it's a horrible free kick, because the ball will spin after
half the ball is traveled.
Yep. So it really takes a load on the player's knee, and that's why maybe Ronaldo doesn't try it anymore, because he has tendinitis and it has troubled him a lot. And after 2014, he's never really tried knuckleball.
He's done it, but not that frequently, and that's not his. And basically, I think after 2014, because his general style of free kick depended on power a lot.
Yeah.
Since the tendinitis thing, his free kick accuracy is obviously reduced.
Yep.
But yeah, I can't think of a lot of players who used to do knuckleballs, man.
Because knuckleball is more like a three-phase free kick, because it first of all it puts pressure on your hip, then on your knee, and then finally you strike the ball. So it's like breaking down the action and more like a whip. It's more like a whip to the ball. It's not like a whole leg motion. It breaks down into 2 or 3 steps, and it really puts pressure on your knees. And I don't think players want to risk that much, because I remember there was a time when Ronaldo won a Ballon d'Or and the team was getting together for a photograph, and none of the players wanted to bend down because everyone is very cautious about their knees. And yeah, so it's not worth the risk. They think it's better to curl the ball, which is much less risky, and it's more tried and tested formula and doesn't really injure you as much. So, and Messi is nearing Juninho's record now. He's just behind Ronaldo, and maybe only 2 or 3 free kicks behind Ronaldo and 20 free kicks behind Juninho. Yep.
But I still feel even if he crosses Juninho's record, Juninho was amazing. He had more versatility in his free kicks.
Yeah, Juninho could score from any angle.
From any distance also. He could
any
score.
Distance, yep, that's true.
Without doing the knuckleball.
Yep.
Which is surprising.
Yeah, that's true. It was more about technique than power.
Yes.
Yep, that's the best way to describe it. So, moving on, the Villarreal president on youth system said that it hurts us that Barcelona, Atleti and Bilbao still are 15-year-olds because they aren't yet professional. Every year we are robbed by big teams. Every year we have players taken from us. This is because we have the best youth system in Spain. So, what are your comments about that?
I don't know which place he's talking about though. Like, if he says every year, I can't think of any player, say 5 years ago from Villarreal, who has done good for these 3 clubs.
He's talking about the 15-year-olds, like in the youth academy.
Yeah, but I'm assuming, let's say 5 years ago, somebody who was 15 years old was under 15 years was taken at that point of time.
Yeah.
You would have heard about them by now, right? If they're really that good. I'm not really sure who he's talking about. I think he's exaggerating it. In terms of saying that he's the best academy, I really doubt it. I can't think of VRL players going for like huge sums of money or being that great. Like I understand his point where because under 15s, I think they don't sign professional contracts. They're open to sign for other clubs. That is possible, but it's part and parcel of. Unfortunately, it's part and parcel of football, and it's up to them to nurture their players good enough to give them the environment that they want. So I would say, compared to any big clubs, clubs like Villarreal can not only give them the kind of environment that they need for training, but they can also give them opportunities in the first team. Quicker. So I'm not. I feel it was heavily exaggerated, that particular comment of his.
Yeah, but talking about academies, I guess La Masia and Castilla are one of the best academies in the world, because you see a lot of players come from these academies, even though they weren't initially in these academies. Maybe they have come on in later stages, like at 15 years, 16 years old, not really at 7 or 8 years old, but still they have a lot of players who play for the top level teams. Like Castilla has Mata, Raul, Iker, Morata. Morata was actually from Raul, and Morata both play for Atletico as well. And in the Casemiro, you have Vasquez, Nacho, Reguilon, and a lot of players for these players have been from Castilla and
Marcos Alonso
and
Vallejo.
Llorente is still yet to prove his.
Llorente, yeah.
But
Llorente is great.
He's already an
Llorente
was
was the standout player against Valencia.
Yeah, but Llorente also has a family history with Real Madrid. His grandfather Paco Gento and all those. And for La Masia, we don't really need to talk about it, because we know the guys who won the World Cup, and Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, Piqué,
Valdez was not in the La Masia, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, but Puyol and there are a lot many players in those. And another country which we need to talk about is Portugal, because Portugal is known for developing players like Dortmund, and Dortmund is known for loaning players
But
in,
Dortmund is in
taking in
Germany.
players for low. No, like they are developing Ashraf Hakimi right now for you, and they have developed a lot many players before for
But you said
Bayern Munich.
Portugal, right? I thought.
Yeah, I'm talking about Portugal right now, because Portugal is a country where a lot many Brazilians travel,
Yep.
and Brazilian talents
And
develop over there.
Brazilians and Argentinians.
Yep, because of the same language and
Similar
stuff.
language.
Yep,
Yeah. Similar
and-
lifestyle.
Yeah, similar lifestyle, and it's not really much pressurizing league. And you can see likes of Casemiro over there, James, and I can't recall many players right now, but Pepe, and even Ronaldo was from Portugal only. So yeah, it's a great country to develop some talent. And I don't know what Villarreal president was saying, but it's pretty interesting because the youth system is not talked about much. And moving on, Bernabeu reconstruction,
Great deal by Perez.
530 million.
530 million in terms of structuring it as an installment basis across so many years, getting it constructed by 2020. Best part is not having to get the stadium renamed for any purpose, and I think he's raking 35 million is something that I think the installment per year, and expected profit is 100, or expected revenue is 130 million per year.
150 million will be the increased amount. So they're already earning like 50 to 70 million per year, so it will be like 200 million, I guess, overall. I don't know, maybe 150 million only, we should say. And you are paying 30 million out of 150 million, so it's basically you are in profit for the new stadium, and you're not renaming it, and over the 35 years time span you have to pay it, so it doesn't really disturb your budget, and neither it does affect on the transfers and all that other club functioning, on-field functioning of the club. And maybe it was the need of the hour, because these are the big clubs and these are also the tourist spots which people don't realize.
Yes.
Yeah, so even if the people won't watch the match, they will go to the stadium. Even those who are not really fan of football, they will just go for the sake of witnessing something great, something beautiful. So they will go on off days, and visit the restaurants and shops and all that stuff, because it's worth visiting a stadium in Europe when you are going there. So it is great. And also Spurs have got the new stadium, which is pretty beautiful.
Yeah, it's called currently it's called Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but they are also looking at selling the naming rights.
Yeah, because they really need money. They really need money, and
they do.
Yep. So, and there was another issue in football, which is a bit of shameful experience for fans of football, that Kean was racially abused, and it wasn't really as sad as the comments of Bonnucci and Allegri, who said that the blame is 50-50, the player is also responsible for provoking the crowd and stuff. But I guess it's not provoking, he's just standing over there. It's not a provocation in any thing.
I think Bonnucci did not think properly when he said it. Like I understand his point that when you score, generally you should celebrate with your players or your fans and not try to entice the other fans. Having said that, even if you're enticing the other fans, it doesn't give them the right to racially abuse you. So I think he was trying to make two separate points, but he kind of combined it into one point unnecessarily. So it's bad that he was abused racially. This happened, and Cagliari as a club has a history of doing this. They've done it with Blaise Matuidi last year, Sule Montari when he was playing for Inter. So I think with this many incidents, I think they need to close down the stadium at least for a day.
Italy really has a problem with racism, because Balotelli was racially abused. Balotelli has been abused a lot many times in a lot many countries.
Balotelli was racially abused by Italians in an Italy match when he's playing for Italy.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Because Italians are really known for it. I don't know why. Because even with Inter Milan, even with Napoli, even with Juventus, and a lot many...
Koulibaly
incident. And there has been a great number of cases, and we need to act upon it. But I guess the enticing part is is ridiculous, because you see Ramos going to San Pedro and uh, enticing the fans who abuse him, and they even abused his mother, and then the Bernabeu fans blessed his mother. Like,
Yeah.
they were abusing his mother in the away stadium, and when Bernabeu was playing at home, the Real Madrid was playing at Bernabeu, and the Real Madrid fans bought in posters like "God bless the mother who gave birth to you, Sergio," and all that stuff. And it happens with a lot many players, but I guess it's more addressed when it's a player from a particular race, and his race as a whole has been subjected rather than individual abuse, because Cristiano Ronaldo, Luis Figo, they have been abused in Camp Nou a lot many times, and they have, I don't remember Figo responding to them, but Cristiano Ronaldo always went back to them and celebrated in front of them and enticed them, and it was really a fun part for the rivalry.
But I think that was different where, like in that case, he celebrated in front of them when they abused him before actually the goal was scored, or when he started playing and all that. And most of the times they abuse him or try to rally him up using Messi's name. In Moise Kean's, I found it was weird because not weird. Nobody was. He claims that he was abused before. I'm not sure how true that is. Probably it is. I'm giving the
Because even when I saw the match, it was really about the commentator speaking. I couldn't really make out the racial abuse and stuff unless and until the commentator said it, that their comments and all that stuff is going on. But if you just saw it as a normal celebration, like without the commentary part, you wouldn't really notice that what's happening right there. You would see a player scoring a goal and then celebrating and then moving on.
Yep.
And maybe it wouldn't have been in headlines as much due to the comments of Bonnucci and Allegri. If they haven't spoken,
But
maybe it wasn't really that big of an issue.
But that's a problem with Italian
Yep,
football. It's happening
yep.
for the third time with the same club, and it would not have been an issue if they did not speak about it. So
Yeah, that's true.
So they should be speaking more about it. And I think by now Calgary deserves at least one game stadium ban. At least.
Yep. They could just ban the fans, like ultras are banned from Real Madrid, So
But they're not doing anything about it. Like Calgary, as a
Yeah.
team, the president, he
Yep.
actually spoke in the sense that this is not a racial thing. If it was a white player, we would have done the same thing. Their fans would have done the same thing and all that.
yeah, that is
Calgary
true.
as a whole, I agree to all that.
I
but
get that point, but that happens to an individual, They abuse someone individually. But here, you are abusing a whole race.
Yeah,
That's
true.
the only difference.
True.
I agree that they will always abuse the players. Like, I just gave the examples of Figo, Ronaldo, Ramos, the three other Real Madrid players who I know are really hated a lot by a lot many fans around the world, especially Ramos in Egypt. So, yeah, but that's not really about the race, that's the individual abuse. And in the case of Kean, it was really race as a whole was being abused, and it's not really the first example because it has happened before to Balotelli, Koulibaly, and other such players before also. So, yep. And recently there was a comment of Alenia on Barcelona post calling his fellow teammates the N-word.
Dembele.
Dembele,
post.
yeah, and then they later deleted it, but it's ugly. But it was in all jokes and stuff, but I think they shouldn't say it. And moving on to the UCL fixtures, which are in the midweek. Before that, we will just like to remind you that Real Madrid plays Eibar today. Tonight, sorry.
Will be interesting to see how they react to the loss.
Yeah, it's really a rotation thing. Like, players who haven't played much will play more and give a trial to Zidane that this is our level, so decide what you will do with us in the summer. That's pretty much it. So moving on to the UCL predictions and previews, I don't think there's any debate about Barcelona versus Manchester United right now. It's pretty evident that Barcelona has
all the momentum on their side.
Yeah,
and
everything.
I think, right now, I think they won't take Manchester United lightly also because the way they have won. And top of that, Barcelona have been pretty poor in UCL, have not reached the semi-final for so many years now.
Yeah, but it's a home game.
Correct. So I think they won't take them lightly, and they will. It's not only are they more motivated, they won't take them lightly, and they are the better squad. Sometimes the fact that a previous team was able to knock out another team in the kind of fashion that Manchester United did helps in the next round.
Yep, that is true. And Moving on to City. They
City
play
versus
again.
Spurs, right? So I would.
Spurs, Tottenham.
My predictions still have not changed. I expect all the strong
but-
teams to get out.
Yep. But I don't really see Spurs disappointing Manchester City right now. In no possible way. Though it will be interesting if Spurs win the Champions League. I'll pay for that to happen, but I don't really see it happening.
I think Spurs will lose, and then they will consolidate their top 4 position.
Possibly. And Juventus versus Ajax, it's pretty much the same thing, but I think Ajax will go through. Hate me as much as you want, but that's what I think.
I would expect. I think all the strong teams will go through. I think Juventus will go through.
Yeah, but Juventus, I don't really see Juventus under his system, under dominating style of play or something. But yeah, they have won against Atletico very convincingly with a very beautiful performance. But we don't have to forget that Atletico was below their average in that game. Like, even in the baddest of the nights, they haven't played that bad. I don't know why it happened, but it happened. And Ajax seem to have their style of play, and the way they won against Real Madrid, it gives them the confidence boost that yes, we can do it, we can achieve it. And especially the players who are going out to Barcelona, they will feel that okay, if we win the Champions League with Ajax and then we move on to a new start in our career, it will have a totally different impact, and we will have a better prospects for the future of the club and for themselves. Moving on to Liverpool versus Porto.
Liverpool.
That's pretty clear. I wonder how Roma lost to Porto, because I never expected that to happen.
I don't remember the. I mean, I didn't watch that match. I saw the highlights. I just can't remember.
Yeah, it was on aggregate, I guess. Yep. So
I think they went into the extra time and lost.
yeah, so it was a funny thing, because you expect the team which knocked out Barcelona to at least do well against Porto.
Correct.
Yeah, but Roma also sacked their coach and hired Ranieri, and let's see what happens in the next season for them. So that's pretty much it for today. Do you have any last comments?
Nothing much. I'm hoping to see a better performance tonight from us.
Yep,
Hopefully.
let's see. And that's pretty much it. See you next week. Thank you so much.
See you next week. Thank you.
Adios.